Welcome to the VP Culture course on values science. This is going to be lesson number 1, and we're going to delve deep into the area of what it means to develop values for your culture. So welcome to the value verse, the place where all your values are coming together. So as we have been discussing, you've got your 3 stakeholders of the individual, the team, and the community. They're all held together by valuing people. They're drawn around the orbit of valuing people. And that is empowered by these 3 science areas. And we've covered personality science, emotional science, and now we're into the final phase of talking about value science. Value science is focused on the future and getting people to where you want them to be in the future, so they realize that every step that they're taking is going to a specific place that corresponds with the values of valuing people. How to make those values, how to create them in details, how to create the experiences that those make. That's what we're going to be discussing here today. How to value people by using value science. How to reshape their future and their present with value science. Now, we've got certain laws of reality that hold the whole universe together. And I like to use this as a metaphor. So we've got gravity, we've got the electromagnetic force, and the weak and the strong nuclear forces. And those 4 forces together hold everything together in the universe. And so like those forces that hold culture together, we have forces that hold our cultural and our relational world together. These forces are 6 forces that I call trust, harmony, peace, wisdom, and nobility, and joy. And together, these shape your universe in a way that will hold everyone together and keep everyone going in the right direction for your culture. So we'll get into the details of this, but let's understand how this value verse works, so that you can understand what values are and how to use them in your culture in a powerful way. So these values are really the laws of relational cultural reality. Okay, so what we're looking at are ways to relate together that lead to peace. And you think, why peace? Peace is where we psychologically can be together without having difficulty, without having any stress. So if you can get all of the values together, trust, harmony, and then you'll end up in peace, you'll be able to work together and have that non-stressful place where people can go, and that they can go to work and have a safe place to work. So that's what we call psychological safety in the past, and all of these things. So we'll be using these tools to create these valued experiences that lead to that. And then once we've achieved that, we can working together to create joy. And you think joy, well, that's the enjoyment, the wonder, the awe, the delight in the things that we create. And that's what we want our communities to feel once we've created their service or their product. We also want them to feel that together as a team, as a culture, that we enjoy what we do, we enjoy what we create. So this is what we're trying to create. We're trying to create these laws of reality that will get us working together as a culture. So what we don't want is this. We don't want what we call ignored values, values that sit on the wall, that with these sort of benign qualities of quality, integrity, innovation, and never see the light of day. We talked about in the seminars Enron, who had these kind of values on the wall, but they never really lived them out. In fact, they created a different culture out of their emotional world that they created. And the values that they lived out were completely different. They never talked about these values. They never lived out those values. In fact, their CEO ended up in prison for 24 years because he didn't live out of values. He took down a company of 25,000 people, which was Enron, and he also took down a company of another 9,000 people, which was Arthur Andersen at the time. So the 2 companies failed because they failed to actually live out values. They just ignored them. They thought it was a game. You could put them on the wall and then do whatever you want. The other scenario that I often see is distorted values. Now, this is kind of exemplified by Uber. Uber had all these crazy values like hustle harder, innovate, 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 and these kind of things. And it drove their people to despair. It drove their drivers to despair. It ended up having all sorts of harassment suits and legal action against them because they lived out these wacky values that were distorted. They didn't live out values that led to peace and joy. They led out values that led to destruction. So you might be really keen or really great at innovating within your organization or really fast to the line. But if you don't live out all of the values that create a great culture, you're going to end up with a distorted culture that will end in failure like Enron or like Uber did. So what happens if I don't pay attention to this? We end up creating things without value all day long. Everyone shows up at work and they're saying, what do I do every day? I create things without value. I create things without value. I don't have value. I create things without value. So we don't want that to happen. In fact, we want something quite different to happen. We want you to have creational values. So what does that mean? That you know every level of excellence within your organization. So the values start out in very practical ways of like, what does it take to create a great camera? What does it take to create a great service? All of these things have to be articulated properly. And then those things create experiences, experiential values. Those are the big 6 that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about trust, harmony, and peace. And then we're going to be talking about wisdom, nobility, and joy. Those are experiential values that you create by doing your job well. The little details equal these experiences, which create things for people. The ultimate value of valuing people. So we move from the little things that we do every day to the biggest value of all of valuing people. And we do this cycle every single day, from little to experiences to valuing people. We help people in our organizations make those connections of why we're doing it and how we're doing it. It's very important. So that's what the Valueverse looks like, the universe of values that we'll be creating to help you create a great valuing people culture. You have to point people to the reality of what makes the universe tick, the universe of relationships and culture. So let's dive deep. So we're going to be investing a lot of time into training and investing time. You can't do this by just having this webinar alone and thinking we've got this problem solved. We can't put the words on the wall and then walk away. It has to be not ignored and not stilted to just a few values. We have to train and move ourselves towards all of them. We have to develop the skills.